You know what the fifth wave actually does really well? It proves that not every young adult novel needs to be turned into a movie. And they're not even the first movie to really break that ground. There's been plenty of other novels out there that were turned into movies that were horrible, but studios keep doing it. So, yeah, we're stuck with them. Yay. Now, granted, this movie is not the worst of that subgenre of terrible novels turned movies. It actually wasn't a bad film overall. Comparing it to especially like Divergent, for instance, Divergent to me, at least the first Divergent was a horrible movie, and you actually leave the theater angry at the movie overall. The Fifth Wave was actually passable to some degree, but it fell into a lot of the same pitfalls that those other films also fall. But here's the thing: for me, Chloe Grace Moretz gets a free pass for life just because she played Hit Girl. That's an amazing role. She was awesome in it, and she can pretty much do whatever she wants as an actress, and I will say that she did a great job. And now that you know she gets a free pass, you will understand why when I saw the trailer for this movie and didn't think much of it, I still went out and got the book that the movie was based on, just to kind of get a feel for what I was getting into when I saw her in this role on screen. And for those of you who don't know, The Fifth Wave is essentially a book about this teenage girl who is surviving an alien apocalypse. She's in the middle of what's called the fifth wave because the first four waves wiped out humanity for the most part, except for her brother, and a few other little toddlers and children and whatnot. She's actually going to find her brother at this basically alien boot camp, and she's kind of on her way there and almost gets shot by some other dude who then becomes her sort of captor slash lover. Some stuff happens. It's kind of weird, but essentially all you need to know is that Chloe Grace Moretz is a survivor of an alien attack, and she's trying to survive in this world and get her brother back. And that's essentially the basic premise of the movie. And again, I did read the book, so there were a lot of similarities. The movie actually follows the book pretty closely. And in this case, that was actually kind of a bad thing because when you make a novel adaptation into a movie, you need to have that base novel, your source material, be really good. Because what's going to happen is when you adapt it into a movie, it's not going to be as good because you're not going to have a lot of that inner dialogue. You're going to have to consolidate a lot of the scenes and take out a lot of things to make it fit in that 2 hour time span that a movie takes place in. And in this case, the novel itself was just, to me, anyways, it was barely passable. I didn't enjoy the book all that much. So I was a little worried going into the movie thinking that I would not enjoy the movie. And for the most part, I really didn't enjoy the movie. There were a lot of flaws with it. For one, the book focuses on two different main characters. One is Chloe Grace Moretz's character as she's trying to go find her brother, and the other character is Ben Parrish, which was her high school crush, where he's actually in that same boot camp that her brother's in, and kind of his survival and his steps into finding out what's really going on in this world right now. And my issue with the book is the same as the movie. There was two different storylines that the book and the movie focused on, and they didn't focus on either one enough for me to really be invested in with the characters at all. And in the case of the movie, it's actually worse because the writers who wrote the screenplay or whatever you want to call it, the script for the film, seem to alienate even the audience that already read the book because what they end up doing in the movie is basically just instead of developing the characters or showing on screen how they're connected or how they're emotionally attached, they just let the audience assume all these relationships and all these ties. So at the end of the movie, you're like, why would this character go back for this character? Because they've only known each other for a few days, and I don't see why there's that big of a connection there. That's how I felt in the movie. It felt kind of ridiculous in a lot of cases. They rushed everything in the movie. The pacing was terrible. So it really they alienated the audience that they were even going for, and that's not even including people who have never read the book. I think they'll even have a worse experience because of that. And don't even get me started on Maria Bello. She was actually really creepy in this movie. She definitely gave off a lot of like pedo vibes, honestly. She was basically the sergeant of the training camp, and she was kind of in charge of inducting the new recruits and kind of telling them what their goal is and what they're doing in that camp. And every time there was a new kid that you would see on screen, she's sort of like getting really close to them, really close to their face, whispering to them softly, kind of being a little overly touchy. The whole thing was actually very creepy to me, and it was just, they did it too many times in the movie. It felt really weird. So, very, very weird pedophilia vibes. I didn't see why they wrote her that way because it certainly wasn't that way in the book at all. Do you know why you're here? Do you know why you're here? That's That's how creepy it was, honestly. But not everything was terrible in this movie. Some of the acting really was good. For instance, Colonel Vosh, the main villain, did a really good job in his role, and I actually would have wished to see more of him because they really kind of spaced him out in this movie. For those of you who don't know him, he plays Sabretooth in the Wolverine movie. He did a really good job in this film, and I actually liked his character a lot. He was a little charismatic, and I liked it. Also, Ben Parrish, I don't know what this kid is from. He looks really familiar to me on screen, but his character was actually pretty cool in the movie, and some of the side characters in his crew were really cool. So I liked seeing them in the movie. I wanted to see more of them. So hopefully future installments, if they make enough money to have future installments, have them in it and actually focus on them a little bit more. Another thing I liked about the movie is that it actually has in this film had a really small scope. So like future films are going to have a lot bigger scope that they can accomplish in the movies and hopefully have a more epic feel. In this movie, all that's really accomplished by the end of the film is that Chloe Grace Moretz's character is able to rescue her brother from this training camp for kids while there's hundreds and hundreds of other children there. And by the end of the film, they decide that they're going to go and save everyone else. So hopefully future installments of the book series and the movie have a bigger feel, have a bigger scope, have a more epic vibe, and are able to actually deliver in some of the action that really didn't come in this movie at all. There were some action scenes, but they were few and far between. And from what I did see of the action scenes, those scenes were really good, and they did make the movie somewhat worthwhile to see. So I really hope seeing future installments will have that in there. And I would definitely go see a second movie, more so than I would see of the Divergent series, to be honest with you. I really didn't like Divergent. Insurgent was a lot better. So I hope this kind of does that same swing around where the first movie wasn't that great, but the second movie really kind of comes together into its own. So the movie wasn't 100% terrible. There's just a lot that I didn't like about it that could have been fixed very easily. That I hope that the new films will fix. But have you seen the movie yet? What did you think? Please leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear it. If you read the book and maybe felt that the book was actually a lot better than what I thought, because I really didn't like the book at all, let me know. I'm actually curious to hear some opinions on it because I only have my perspective, and I might have read something completely different in the book than what you would have read. So please let me know. Also, feel free to like this video, and if you want to get more of our content, go to madmazreviews.com where we have a lot more stuff on there.